Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today, we've got the awesome Jefferson with us. Hi, Jefferson. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Not too bad. Thank you for asking. A little bit cold and chilly. This is why I've got this big coat on, but I'm all right, rushing around. But thank you ever so much for coming along, sharing your story, your expertise, and your journey with us all. So, Jefferson, tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
All right. Jefferson J, living here in Ocean Beach, San Diego, California, where it's cold only by San Diego, California standards. From New Jersey, spent my youth on the East Coast, moved out to California for college and to Humboldt State. And then I studied history at San Diego State. Found myself doing a lot of education type work in classrooms, substitute teaching. Meanwhile, I had a band. I'm putting out our 15th record very soon. So
Wow,
very active in education and entertainment and finding the intersections between those two things for makes a pretty good life here in Southern California.
that's awesome. Thank you ever so much for sharing that with us. And do you want to tell us how long you've actively been pursuing your career and how did you become
Sure.
a person?
Well, I started at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst back in the early 90s, the heyday of grunge and all that
Yeah,
cool rock and music. And I was a
awesome.
young man and excited to be playing that kind of music too. And it resonated with me. Some of the hurt that some of those people were going through helped me through some tough stuff from my youth. And got in a band, started doing music right away after a high school theater background, which wound up coming full circle later in life, kind of a very rewarding way that we'll talk about. And I started doing music then. Music was a little easier to fit into my collegiate lifestyle, if you can call it that. So did music, started writing. The band broke up, heartbreaking. Started writing songs, playing guitar myself. So when next time the band broke up, I wouldn't be out of music.
Yeah,
And that's it, really. I've written a couple thousand songs, done a lot of really wild creative projects, including 24 hours of free music, which is very inclusive program. Anybody can come. It's free. There's lots of acts, a little something for everybody.
yeah,
Operation 365 is a video project I did, 3 videos a day for a year, twice. So I just do some different stuff, and it's pretty rewarding. I like creativity,
that's really,
connection,
really nice.
community.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. And Jefferson, obviously, you said you touched on musical education. So tell us a little bit more about that. What kind of musical education upbringing have you had?
My mom was a teacher and my aunt was a teacher, so I was always kind of raised in the teachery mindset.
Yeah,
When it came time to find some work, I thought substitute teaching would be a fine job to do for a while, and it was.
yeah,
I was gung ho, so I checked every box for every type of class you could teach, from PE to Spanish, even though I don't speak Spanish, science, I don't know much about science, and special education. And the first bunch of calls that I got, many of the early calls were in special education because I guess a lot of people didn't check that box on their job application.
I was the same.
And there was a brief adjustment because I hadn't really spent a lot of time with a lot of people with disabilities. And these kids are in high school and they're still really going through it like any other high school kids, really finding themselves and having some hard times. But it wasn't very long before I made a connection and I felt comfortable and figured out ways to help, usually through music, try to make connections with the students. Next thing you know, I have a job working at a day center for adults with disabilities. And it wasn't long before that I was vibing with everybody, and it was such moving, heartwarming work. Everybody loved me and I loved them, and it was just
Lovely.
thrilling. I miss it. And then they say, "Hey, Jefferson, do you want to write and direct the holiday musical?" And I said, yes. Rang my high school theater bell.
Yeah.
And now, all these years later, we're making The Hunt for the Holiday
Oh,
Spirit
wow.
into
That's
the first
awesome.
animated series, the first series ever, starring a full cast of actors with disabilities.
Yeah.
And this guy right here, he's the great Christmas tree, and he's like our Snoopy type of guy. And
Yeah.
our actors brought this show to life, and they made it amazing and incredible. And it it pains me a little bit that there's no show in the whole history of media and entertainment that features a full cast of actors with disabilities. Authentic representation in the media is probably my main issue for people with disabilities and for everybody. And getting all voices heard creates a full conversation and not a splintered fraction conversation. So that's my main project, The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit. It was called The Hunt for the Great Christmas Tree when I first wrote it, but
fun.
I didn't
Well,
know. Yeah. I thought it would be just a little play, and it's now we're trying to change the world knows people with disabilities and what they can do when given a
it's really,
chance.
really exciting, actually, Jefferson. And thank you ever so much for sharing that with us. And I'll leave all the links for that below as well in the description. But I kind of really like the way that you've included people that feel marginalized or left out, or and especially disabled musicians and artists, because I think that's a massive gap in the music industry right now. So thank you ever so much for that. So how can we make sure that more disabled people, whether it be neurodivergent or physically or mentally disabled, how can we ensure that they're all included in the music industry moving forwards?
Well, I'm with you in searching for that answer. It doesn't seem like people are just throwing the doors wide open. There's a lot of people who talk a lot about, diversity, equality, and inclusion, but when it comes time to, okay, well, let's create opportunities. There are more opportunities than there were, but there's nowhere near a commensurate amount of opportunities proportionally representing the people of our planet.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of hard work. It's folks like you and folks like me and a lot of other folks who are still getting after it and not accepting, a sliver when a fair sized slice is what's called for.
That's what we're
And
asking for.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's the fair side. And I think maybe some of the executives and the people who make these decisions are going to have to be very involved unless funders, heroes need to come up. Maybe these heroes are funders, are foundations. Maybe these heroes are visionary executives in boardrooms because someone has to open the door and create the opportunity, like they did for Jackie Robinson to become the first African
Yes.
American baseball player.
Oh,
A guy named Branch Rickey had the vision. He said this can be, and that's what made it. That's what how change happens. Someone with the ability to create change has to make the change. So folks like myself and yourself and our actors can be themselves and share who they are and what they do and make. I was so uplifted every time I walked into work at the place I worked. The
yeah,
love from the people was it like floored me. Whatever was on my mind just before I stepped in that door was gone. And
yeah,
now I'm just in this world of gratitude. And I think that talented actors of our program and the other folks we will connect with moving forward can that shines through their playing their portrayals of their roles. And I just dream of getting this opportunity in other fields. Inclusivity is taking bigger strides. There's a roller coaster amusement park in San Antonio that's made fully accessible for people with disabilities. There's a baseball field in Toms River, New Jersey, a hotel in Texas. So some people are sick of folks not getting the opportunities to participate in life
yeah.
and doing something about it. And,
But
you
you are.
know,
Well, well done
I'm
on
doing something about it. I want everyone to have a chance. And, but there's still that big step of funding and getting the folks, whoever they are at Netflix or Disney or anywhere, to be like, this needs to happen now.
yeah,
We can do this now. Your show is swell. Let's get busy.
people on board and let's change hearts and minds because I think a lot of it is also bias, isn't it? Prejudice or not. And
Yeah,
also a lack of education and misunderstanding around this issue.
fear of people who are different, fear of losing money. If you're a company and you try something different,
Uh-huh.
there's this greater fear than it is if you make Spider-Man for the 57th time or Superman for the 80th time. I know it's coming out again soon. No
Really?
offense to Spider-Man and Superman. Yeah, it's pretty clear you're going to probably do all right with that because
Yeah,
everybody already loves that. But
it's too much.
before Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, we're trying to fill that role with some new characters and give a new chance to a different group of actors.
How awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And also, what kind of challenges and barriers have you faced, Jefferson? Access to music and entertainment, or what you've seen around you that's kind of inspired you to make this change and this impact that you're having at the moment?
Well, I sort of came into it naturally. Like I was saying, I was just wanting to be a substitute teacher, and now I'm doing special education. Now I'm writing these musicals, and then I want to do more with it. I'd say a lot of the challenges come on two levels. The biggest, most meaningful level is trying to get all voices heard and create opportunities for everybody to participate. Like that is more important than anything else that I'm trying to do besides, raise my kid, stuff in my life.
Oh, I
But I'm
know.
also a musician, and it's very difficult being an independent musician, even though I have 15 records. I got my Spotify Wrapped yesterday, and it was a very depressing moment. There weren't like it was
Oh,
like
it's depressing.
16 minutes of listening. 200 people listened to your music this year. Isn't that great? Maybe
This
it's
is
more than
this is what
16
this.
minutes, but it wasn't a lot.
I've been there. We've all been there. I went
Yeah.
from 0 to 20K followers on this podcast as well. So I find it really interesting that you persevere, you keep going. No matter what challenges and barriers you see, you follow your heart and you've got a passion for it. So I know you're going to do really well. You've done loads of exciting things. You're such an inspiration to many people. Like, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts and feelings around the platforms that are provided to support artists right now, especially disabled artists or other artists that are different, should we say? What kind of platforms are they and how are they supporting artists along that talent pipeline?
You know, I'm kind of looking for the answer to that question myself. There's a lot of organizations and a lot of people scattered about, but I don't feel like there is a united platform. I've started a nonprofit called Everybody One to advocate for disability rights, disability equality, disability justice, and mainly authentic representation in the media. And I hope to connect with the other folks and kind of create our own platform, but we want nothing radical. We want equality. We want to have people able to participate. People, actors with disabilities in this country can be paid, not just actors, workers with disability can be paid less than minimum wage.
Yes.
They can, their earnings are capped
Mhm.
at a fairly low level. And if they go above that level, they can have their medical and their other benefits taken away. So there are many impediments to equality. And even if our show does say Netflix calls tomorrow after they, or the day after this comes
Yeah.
out and they're delighted, and I want to pay all my actors, these guys, they're just the characters, but pay them, fairly, we're going to have to figure out how to do that without harming them,
Yeah.
and making them lose.
Yeah.
Not everybody is best suited to fill out a million forms and fill out health insurance. I don't
Oh,
know how complicated it is there, maybe
oh,
less, but
it is.
here
Oh,
it's
it's
very
complicated.
complicated.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of roads that need to be pulled together and a lot of progress to make.
Yeah.
But I wish I had a clearer answer on who's doing it. And I'd probably
Mhm.
call them as soon as we were done
My
recording if I
turn.
knew.
I'll be picking up the phone. Excuse me. they probably put the
Hey, we just spoke.
they probably put the phone down on me, but I'll still try. Do you know what I mean? And I do
Yeah,
get
yeah.
where you're coming from. And kind of, when you're looking around the music and entertainment industry right now, are you seeing that representation or are you seeing authentic representation or just tokenism?
I think it is taking steps from tokenism
Yes.
to more authentic representation.
Yeah.
I feel like shows like ours, The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit, where all the actors have disabilities. And ideally, once we build it out, once we have, more money to spend, I want people with disabilities at every level of our organization to get to it's really, but I think it's just it's difficult.
It is. It's a challenge, isn't it? And I think it's about passion, perseverance, consistency, but also building that trust. And I think this is why sometimes it takes a little bit longer for people like me and yourself, because people want to know, are you serious? Are you doing this because it's tokenism? Are
Yeah.
you doing this because you want change? Are you doing this because you want special treatment? I was on a call the other day. Someone said, maybe you're asking for special treatment. And I'm actually not. I'm
No.
asking for equity. And this is
Yeah.
something we talk about diversity and equality, but we can't have those things without equity. And we're not
Yeah.
all starting on the same starting line, are we, Jefferson? And
Not
this is something
even
that you
close.
noticed as well, working through that.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I think everybody's asking to be treated like a human.
Yeah,
I think everybody wants their humanity.
yeah,
And through some of the things that we've been through as a society with the pandemic not too long ago, when the pandemic came,
yeah,
they were very transparent about, hey, we'll help the people with disabilities last. They were like really transparent about how that they were less of a priority to get the vaccines, to get whatever. And it's just a flaw in society. There a big misunderstanding is a lot of people who are not disabled seem to have some sort of pity on people who are disabled. And
yeah.
I have no pity for the people I know with disabilities. In fact, I look up to the
Inspirational.
people I know personally
Yeah,
for having optimism and having genuine enthusiasm about all kinds of things that I feel like so many other people overlook,
right.
forget about, don't even stop to appreciate. So I think this part of their nature, my actors, I'm not speaking for everybody, of course, but the
Yeah.
people I know, I think that'll shine through their roles, and I think it can make a very positive impact on society and on everybody's holiday season every year with our show, and on kids in elementary schools who get their first classmate maybe in a wheelchair or with autism, and they're
Mhm.
more relatable to each other right away because
Yeah.
maybe their favorite character is in a wheelchair, like the magic snow woman, for
Oh,
instance.
wow. Oh,
The
that's so
wonderful
good.
magic snow woman.
Uh,
She you ever heard of a snow woman before?
I'm not actually. No, that's a new one as well. And this is what I'm saying. Look, and
I
she's in a
thought you'd draw
wheelchair and
her.
she looks super cool in the book.
She's super cool.
Got
She's
to
a
leave
hip.
the link for the book too, so I can put that in the description because you haven't
Yeah,
seen it
you
yet.
never hear about Snow Woman. She says in the first episode, in our pilot episodes, one of the kids says to her, "I didn't know there was such thing as a snow woman. I never heard of a snow woman before." And she says, "Of course there's such thing as a snow woman. How do you think all the snow babies got born?
Right.
Snowmen? I
Right.
don't think so."
We've
So,
had
there's some jokes and stuff, but she's worried about melting. We have very, very real concerns. Our characters are as real as a Christmas tree and Snow Woman
yeah,
can be. But I think they might make the little boy or the little girl in a wheelchair feel more cool, perhaps, and less,
yeah.
different to their
And
classmates from day one.
yeah.
And I think there's tremendous long-term upside to that kind of situation.
Do you know what? Something I struggle with personally, and I think it's about boxing people in and saying, okay, you're like this, or you're over there. You're like
Yeah.
this, you've got to go with this group here. What's your thoughts on segregation and boxing people into certain aspects of a culture or society when really we need to be including everybody, bringing everyone around that table? What's your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%, but I think there's also a balancing. There's been this tremendous inequity for so long. Like you said, we all don't start at the same point, and we all started a long time ago. So now I do think a show where the full cast has disabilities. I don't think every show should be a full group of this does this, a full group
Right,
of, I don't like that really at all in general. But I
right,
know there's been however many classic shows, cartoons, whatever, and none of them, almost all of them didn't have any actors with disabilities,
right,
and
right.
certainly none of them had a full cast. And I think there's very necessary restructuring of the deck and rebalancing, and then I think full inclusivity where everybody does everything with everyone is where we're going and what it would be ideal.
So,
But there's a process, and it involves like a lot of people, sadly, don't believe that our actors with disabilities can do it. They think like I think that's one of the unspoken reasons we haven't had more bites more quickly is some people think, well, like I could sit and talk for an hour and about all
no,
of our
we've
work, and
already
then
done that already.
I
We've
know, and we
mentioned
did
that
that, and
with
then I show a video of our when it was a play because it
yeah.
started as plays, and they go, well, those guys don't have disabilities, and I just go like this. I'm like, I
I do
just
it all the time. I don't think certain people see it. And I think certain people like myself and yourself, we see things and I'm just like, well, where is this kind of type of person? Where's this kind of representation? Where's this kind of education coming from? Because I do think a lot of it is that mainstream old school culture.
yeah.
And obviously, trying to drive change can be very challenging. How have you found
Yeah.
that, Jefferson, and trying to push for that change? Because it can be very demanding and challenging at times.
It's kind of in some ways, it feels great. It's meaningful to the spirit and the soul to be doing something that really moves you and is important. There's a lot of people with jobs, but they don't really necessarily, they know they're not really doing any dramatic work to change the society, but it's noble work to bring home a paycheck and take care of your business. But it's I lost my train of thought. But
No, it's fine. Don't worry. It's kind of a deep topic that we touch a lot. What kind of inspires you? What drives you all the time? Because we all have ups and downs.
oh,
It doesn't always go our way. There's so many challenges and barriers. How do you navigate that?
I just care a real lot. I have a passion for it. When I wrote the first episode of The Hunt for the Great Christmas Tree and directed it afterwards, I was super fired up, kind of like now. And without all the coffee, I'm Coach Jefferson. I
Right.
coach
Listen, I'm a
T-ball.
Red Bull fan. I use the Red Bulls. Don't worry about it, even though it's bad.
So I lost my train of thought twice. I can't believe it.
Don't
What
worry.
inspires me? I just want to make the world a better place. It
Mhm,
like means everything to me. I try to do it in my daily life,
mhm.
but If we don't do it, who's going to do it? You can't expect other people to do work that you're not willing to do, and it speaks to my soul. Oh, so I remember. So I directed the first episode of for the Great Christmas Tree, and I
Yeah.
went home and I wrote seven more,
Wow.
like bam bam. The next year, I directed number two, and I wrote eight more. So now there's like 16 little cute sitcom type musicals,
Yeah.
each their own Rudolph or Frosty. Directed another the next year, wrote another Christmas Carol type episode, little Charles Dickens
Right.
influence thing there. And I wrote the conclusion of the series. So there's 24 musical episodes for these characters to come of age and get to know each other and have ups and downs and support each other. It's not a preachy show. The characters are just characters. They don't talk about their disabilities. They don't talk about, they just talk
Yeah.
like humans. We're
That's
all human and we all deserve to be treated like human. And asking to be treated like a human is not asking for any special treatment in any way, shape, or form.
this is another thing I find is like I'm just trying to fit in and be like everybody else. I'm not trying to stand out. I'm not trying to be different. And I think sometimes society gets it wrong where they want to have people like ourselves being involved in things and having diverse representation. But then at the same time, we're either othered or we're different. And I don't think that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to be part of the same, part of a belonging, you know. And I think that's the difference that some people look at it and think, okay, we're going to use this for tokenism. We're going to have these people so it looks good or makes more money. But are they doing it in the right ways?
I agree, but at the same time, we should it should be pushed so far that it's okay to be different. We
Yeah.
are all the same. We're all human, but we are different. We're all beautiful, different feathers on the back of the peacock there, and we should be able to be as bright and colorful and shiny as we want without someone being like, "Oh, wow, what's the big idea?" Like when I do my music stuff, I dress flamboyant. I'm very like influenced by David Bowie and Elton John, like fashion wise. Like I think that's one of the beautiful things about Prince, about being in music, to be able to be larger than life and a bigger character. And there, no one shames. No one's like Elton John. You're wearing a duck suit. Stop it. You know what I mean?
I love
Once
that, John.
at some point it's considered cool, but there's this like little gap,
Yeah.
and I have no respect for that gap. I just charge right through that thing, and if I want to wear a tie, I wear a tie, and if I want to wear a dress, I wear a dress.
Well,
And
you
if
know,
someone
I
doesn't like
love
it,
that.
that's fine.
I love that too. And it's about just being authentic, isn't it? So, how important do you think that authenticity is? You know, with these kind of characters and the storylines and some of the stuff you'd even do with your inclusive book, I think is so awesome. How important is it to have that authenticity?
It's the most important thing. A
Yeah.
lot of my actors and the people I know with disabilities that I work with, they don't have that like extra layer of inauthenticity. Like what you see is what you get. And we're having a meaningful connection right away. And
Yeah.
that whole like, what am I going to say to try to seem a certain way to try to get this person to
Like,
feel this way about me? That's not there.
yeah.
And I don't have much of that either. Like people who want that, like I can be professional and smile, but like I try to be a pretty straight shooter. And if there's a problem, let's talk about it and let's try to fix it. And if there's not, then let's high five and enjoy that we or don't have a problem for however long we don't have a problem.
Right, right. And how do you find people that are not always open to change? Because there is resistance to change, and not everyone wants to see that change. And there's obviously a power structure, and it means certain people giving up space, giving up, certain seats. How does that feel to you at the moment?
Devastating.
Hmm.
It's super hurtful. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just advocating on behalf of my actors, but the fact that no doors are open to them is it's hurtful to me, maybe even more than them. Sometimes I'll get a phone call from one of my guys and they'll be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're super encouraging but I wish I had more updates. We started a nonprofit. I think that everybody won. I think that's a very important step toward maybe raising the funds to self-produce this. That's my first choice. Raise funds, self-produce it with one of the major animation studios to make sure it's top notch and supposed to going to a Netflix or a Disney, who, as much as I'd love to be their partners,
yeah.
they get to decide then. And if they decide that
It's all right.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie need to reunite and be the actors in the show,
Yeah.
well, that's nice and all, but that's not really changing anything.
Well
And
done,
that
John.
would be disappointing to me if
That's
that didn't
really
happen.
inspiring, actually. And how can people donate if they want to donate to the work that you're doing at the moment? How can people do that?
We have a donation that's available to be made on our nonprofit Everybody One website,
Yeah.
and that's everybody1.org. ONE. That's probably the best way. Anybody who wants to talk more about any of this, I'm on LinkedIn. JeffersonJay.com is my website. Thegoodvibe.com is the home for all my projects. The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit, Jefferson J Music, and I also run the San Diego Music Hall of Fame. This is from the newspaper here, the San
Yeah.
Diego Union Tribune.
Well
And
done.
as I mentioned briefly, that music in San Diego is
Yeah.
under duress. It's a tough
Wow. You're getting there.
market,
You're a
very
change,
tough.
but you're a change maker and you're making massive changes. Also, tell us a bit more about the book and how can people
The
buy your book?
book is it's not necessarily for sale. In the world of animation, if you're pitching a show, you need one of these, a character Bible. And ours is super nice. Our great artist Augustine Andres Cortez. He designed these characters and he scored my acoustic songs for our program. And this is what say we did. So Netflix calls as soon as we're done, and they're like, Jefferson, we want to buy this show. We got to do it. How do we make your characters? These are all of our characters. Aren't
Uh,
they lovely?
they are
Lovely.
so diverse, so representative of the communities in which we live, and I love it. Super colorful
And
too.
and now they want to draw the great Christmas tree themselves because they're going to make a whole bunch of episodes. This
So
shows them exactly how to do it.
draw them as well. I remember those at school when I was younger as well. I used to love art because I'm a creative. And I think, sometimes that's really, really important and we're lacking a lot of that now. So well done for doing all the work you do. I take
Thank
my
you
heart,
so
you
much.
make my heart smile, you make me smile as a person as well. And I just wish you all the best. And Jefferson, how do you think that stigma and that discrimination also affects certain people, in that industry right now, who's trying to make that change, who's trying to be part of something and they feel let down, they feel misrepresented? What kind of advice could you give to those kind of people?
The best advice I have is what we're doing, which is keep trying, keep getting after it, don't give up. There's big networks out there, and that's how I recently connected with you, and I'm trying to access all the people who are out there and make connections and pull people together. And I think that's our best bet is to unite. I mean, we all want unity, so we need to unite. And we all want more voices to be heard. So you are doing a fabulous job, and thank you for it, and amplifying those voices and creating a larger conversation. And I think
I,
that is the journey to the solution, but it's also the solution. It
yeah,
just doesn't come like that. It comes like this. So
gradually.
thank
And I
you.
think
And thanks for
no
having me.
problem. Thank you ever so much. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure. And I've also got to share some organizations with you over here in the UK. But I think, it's about sharing information, it's about collaborations, whether that be local, national, or even international. That's how we grow. That's how we support each other along the way. And, I found you so delightful, in your kind of mindset and what you're trying to achieve. And I know sometimes it can be very lonely at times, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
you felt like that at times. How do
Sometimes,
you
yeah.
manage that and navigate that?
Sometimes you just feel down,
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you have to just take your lumps and feel down and rest and regroup. You can't always charge through walls and barriers. Sometimes got to lick your wounds.
yeah,
Winter's a nice time when it's all cold. You sit in and I've been taking some time here and going through all the videos from the San Diego Music Hall of Fame. There's some charitable elements to it and preparing it to share. So sometimes we need to just work on stuff at home
yeah,
and then come back out refreshed when we feel recharged. Because these problems aren't going away.
exactly.
Even if there's huge progress,
Yeah.
there's still a lot more going to be a lot more work to do as long as you and I are still floating around.
For years to come, I'm pretty sure it's gonna change and change and change. But at least we're evolving and we're initiating that change. And I think that's part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're getting closer to authenticity and authentic representation than we were before ever, and we're getting further from tokenism, but full inclusivity is not really even being discussed or on the table yet, and we are that. The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit, the Good Vibe, are bringing full inclusivity so people could see how beautiful it is and what it looks like and really get to if one character has a disability, then you can get to know people with disabilities as much as one character and how it's written allows you to. But there's a lot more there than whatever one person. That's a pretty small sample size one.
It is, isn't it? And Jefferson, what's kind of been your major wins and successes right now that you can share with the audience? I think you've given us some of your social media that we can connect with you. So, what's some of your major wins and successes that you want to share with us right now?
I feel super blessed to have even been involved at all with the Hunt for the Holiday Spirit.
Yeah,
Before animation and inclusivity, when it was just a humble show, it really made a dramatic impact on the lives of my actors. Their confidence blossomed. They went on to other roles in local theater. I saw their peers light up, getting to see their friends shine on stage. So even just a humble stage show that I directed that led to all this, that's like one of my biggest wins. And the San Diego Music Hall of Fame has really been moving and meaningful to a lot of folks who've toiled here in the music scene when they could have gone to LA or they could have gone to Nashville, they could have gone to Austin, Texas, they could go to New York City or London, but they stayed here. And so they deserve to be appreciated and honored. And the whole community has come together and done that for them and with them. And we just had our big sold out event a month ago. And to be able to bring that back to the San Diego music community that's given me so much, that really
Yeah.
means a lot to me.
Well,
People sometimes cry when we tell them they're inducted or cry at the thing. And
no, I
it's
understand.
very, it's just, it humbles me. We inducted the Marine Band, like the band of the Marines. They've been
Yeah.
around, and the guy from the Marines is in his uniform, and he's like, "We want to thank Jefferson J. People didn't
Wow.
always really embrace the military, you know, and that you are with these musicians. And it means a lot to us." And it was Veterans Day a couple years ago, and I mean, how humbling is that? Where an officer in the Marines is like thanking you for acknowledging them, like,
Well done, you. That's what needs the achievement, is it? Well done. You're going to make me cry. Like Saskia, I better stop it. I've got tears in my eyes.
"Oh,
Well, honestly, I wish there was more people like you in the world, Jefferson. Absolutely awesome, inspirational, making a change, making a positive difference to the world. And I think that's really what I get from you. And I hope some of the listeners want to go along and support the work that you're doing across the globe, support, disabled artists in the music industry and in entertainment. And just keep doing what you do because you're just a breath of fresh air. I wish everyone was like that. I really
oh,
do.
thank you. I'm so moved by all the stuff you said and all the work you do. And I want to encourage anybody who feels anything like what you feel about me to reach out to me. I'm on all the things. LinkedIn is my new favorite website. I didn't see that coming, but I find it to be pretty fun, actually. I'm not sure anyone's ever said that before. LinkedIn is
So do
fun, but
I.
I'm enjoying it. Do you
Yeah,
think LinkedIn is fun?
I do like LinkedIn. I think it's good for connecting with people in your same kind of, your little industries, because it can make
Yeah.
a massive difference. And it's just about letting people know what you're actually up to and building that trust and consistency. And if you keep doing it, just keep going. I know there's ups, there's downs, but just don't give up.
Thank you. I won't. When I go on LinkedIn, I always feel happy. When I go on Facebook or Instagram, it's only sometimes
Yes,
happy. Sometimes I feel sometimes I don't want to end on that note, so I won't even finish
but
that sentence.
please put it all out. Yeah, that's it. But thank you ever so much. It's been absolutely awesome. See, I started a bit down. Now you've just cheered me up and I feel full of bubbles and beans. So thank you ever so
I
much.
am also full of bubbles and beans, and I've never been full of bubbles and beans before.
Good
So
on
thank
you.
you for
Good on
that.
Good on you. Thank you ever so much, and we'll speak soon. Keep up the
All right.
amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Love to all. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Where has it gone now? Sorry. Stop.